The observation deck of the Kepler station hummed with the quiet efficiency of a dozen xenobiologists monitoring their subjects. Dr. Aliana Chun stood before the reinforced viewing panel, her dark eyes tracking two small figures in the habitat below. Behind her, John Martinez adjusted the atmospheric controls, ensuring the environment remained within acceptable parameters for their human charges. "They found the basket again," Aliana murmured, a hint of amusement coloring her typically clinical tone. John looked up from his console, pushing his glasses higher on his nose. "The Cubs are at it again? Didn't we remove that from Habitat 7 last week?" "That was Habitat 7. This is Habitat 12. Apparently, someone on the maintenance crew thought it would be harmless enrichment material." Below them, separated by 6 inches of transparent aluminum and 2 centuries of evolutionary divergence, 2 7-year-old human children had discovered a standard-issue laundry basket, the habitat designed to replicate early 21st century Earth conditions was meant to provide the rescued human specimens with a familiar environment while the Zanari Science Collective studied the species that had somehow survived the Great Collapse. The girl, whom the researchers had designated as Specimen 7A but who insisted on being called Emma, dragged the white plastic basket toward the habitat's corner. Her companion, Specimen 7B, Lucas, in his own language followed with an armful of blankets scavenged from their sleeping area. "Fascinating," Aliana whispered, activating her recording implant. "They're exhibiting advanced collaborative behavior without verbal communication." John joined her at the viewing panel, his 4-fingered hands clasped behind his back. As a Zanari, he stood nearly 7 feet tall, his gray skin and large black eyes a stark contrast to Aliana's more humanoid Asian features, a reminder that she herself was only 3 generations removed from Earth. "My grandmother told me stories about this," Aliana said softly. She called it play, apparently. Human children of the pre-collapse era engaged in spontaneous creative activities that served no immediate survival function. "Inefficient," John observed, though his tone carried curiosity rather than judgment. "Yet the species dominated their planet for millennia. Perhaps there's something we're missing in our understanding." Emma had flipped the basket upside down and crawled inside. Lucas draped the blankets over it, creating a fabric roof. Within moments, their fortress was complete. A simple structure that would have been laughable to any military engineer but was everything to 2 children who had been rescued. From the dying Earth 6 months ago, Aliana's chest tightened. She'd been part of the extraction team, one of the few Zanari missions sent to Earth after the cascade failures of the terraforming networks. They'd found Emma and Lucas in the ruins of what databases identified as Denver, Colorado, surviving on fungal growths and rainwater, their parents dead from radiation exposure. The children had been malnourished, traumatized, and according to Zanari medical standards, shouldn't have been alive at all. Yet here they were, turning refuse into imagination. "I'm detecting elevated dopamine and serotonin levels in both subjects," John reported, scanning the biometric data flowing across his wrist display. "Heart rate steady, stress hormones minimal. Whatever they're doing, it's physiologically beneficial." Through the audio sensors, they could hear muffled giggling from inside the basket fortress. "This is the enemy's base," Emma declared in English, her voice translated instantly by the station's AI. "We have to protect the crystals." "I'll guard the north wall." Lucas responded with equal seriousness. Aliana found herself smiling, an expression she'd learned from her grandmother, but one that felt foreign on her half-Zanari face. "They've created an entire narrative framework, complete with stakes, roles, and objectives. For what purpose?" John tilted his head, genuinely perplexed. "There are no crystals. There is no enemy. They're expending energy on a simulation that provides no practical skills." "Maybe that's exactly the point," Aliana said thoughtfully. "My grandmother used to say that humans didn't just survive, they dreamed. Even when Earth was collapsing around them, even in the darkest moments, they found ways to create meaning from nothing." She pulled up her personal files, displaying an ancient photograph on her neural interface. A young Asian woman, her grandmother at age 8, grinned at the camera from inside a cardboard box, a crude crown drawn on its side in marker. The caption read, "My Castle, 2024, 200 years ago." Aliana continued, and children were doing the exact same thing. The materials change, the context changes, but the impulse remains. John was quiet for a long moment, studying the cubs below. Emma had emerged from the fortress to gather weapons, several plastic spoons from their meal area. Lucas had begun making sound effects, imitating explosions and laser fire. The collective's preliminary reports suggested humans survived through superior adaptability, John said slowly. We assumed this meant technological or biological adaptation. But perhaps it was this, Aliana finished. The ability to find joy in a laundry basket. To create hope from blankets and plastic. To fight imaginary enemies when the real ones were too overwhelming to face. An alert chimed on John's console. The sector administrator is requesting our progress report on the human specimens. She wants to know if they're developing any traits that explain their species' former dominance. Aliana looked down at Emma and Lucas, who had now recruited their stuffed animals as additional fortress defenders. Their laughter echoed through the habitat, a sound that seemed to resonate with something deep in her genetic memory, something human, that 3 generations of Zanari integration hadn't entirely erased. Tell the administrator, Aliana said carefully, that we're observing remarkable resilience characteristics, the ability to construct complex psychological frameworks that promote survival even in resource-limited environments. The capacity to generate positive emotional states without external stimuli. That's a very clinical way of describing play, John observed. Yes, Aliana agreed. But maybe that's what saved humanity. Not their weapons or their technology, but their refusal to let reality define the limits of possibility. They could turn a laundry basket into a fortress. Maybe that's why, even after everything, we found survivors at all. Below, Emma and Lucas defended their kingdom against invisible invaders. 2 cubs who had lost everything but somehow still knew how to dream, and in that moment watching them play. Aliana understood what her grandmother had been trying to tell her all along. Humanity's greatest strength had never been its ability to conquer the stars, but its determination to find light even in the darkness, one improvised fortress at a time.